Hi, it looks like somebody just joined. Feel free to leave your name. Well, you're gone. Hi, everybody. Hey, Katrina. Hey, hey, hey. Hi, Teresa. How are you? So good. Oh, I'm so glad y'all logged on. Okay, so here's the plan. My goal was to do this live actually earlier this summer, and my grandma passed. God bless her. She was 97 years old. And so time, life is life in. And I'm like, well, I wanted to do an update just because it's been a couple of years. There's so many new people that have joined the channel in the last few months. And I would love to not just give an update on what's happening with me, but I would love for us to have a space to share with each other, like what's going on, what questions you might have, and maybe if I can't help, someone else in the community, in the comments can help, or just to support one another. So that's really what this is all about. Hey, Eleanor, good to see you. So what I would love to do for today, I do have a couple of slides. Thank you, Katrina. A couple of slides just to keep us going. Y'all, it's been a while since I've done a live, so thank you for your patience with me as I learn this process. I would consider this sort of a new process. So if you have questions, comments, feel free to leave them in there in the comment section. I do have a couple of slides just to provide some framework, but what I thought I'd do is share a sort of what's this journey has been like for me in pictures. Answer any questions that you may have about either my process, or thank you, Eleanor, or tips that you might have to share with one another. I do have a little bit. I want to talk a little bit about some of the lessons that I've learned, and then maybe even a little bit about what's next for the channel. So it's been a few years. I'm also always trying to figure out, quite frankly, is this helpful? Should I, keep going? So we'll start with that. So I thought it would be, well, tell you a little bit about me. For those of you who might be new and haven't seen some of the previous videos, I am a middle-aged woman, in the middle of the middle age, well over 50, I'll say that. And I was diagnosed with early scarring alopecia a few years ago. And so I'll talk about that in more detail as I go through some of the pictures. I love God. I'm a Christ follower, and I'm going to be really clear, like God, the God who is a healer, who is kind, who looks out for the oppressed, who is concerned about the immigrant and the poor. I just want to, put some context there. And everyone here, you're welcome to this channel. But I just want to give you some context of who I am and who I'm trying to be, right? I'm a wife, a mother, a sister, a friend, and I live on the East Coast. I live in Delaware. I have lived in Philadelphia. I was born in Philadelphia, and then we moved to Virginia, Northern Virginia, and then we moved to California, Southern California. So I did high school and a little bit of college there, actually finished college there, and then moved back to the East Coast, Philadelphia. Now I'm in Delaware. So anyway, so I'm East Coast in the United States. Because we do have, believe it or not, women that watch the channel from like all over the world. I'm surprised, but also grateful. So I love reading. I love cooking. I love traveling, and I'm like a person that kind of connects the dots. And then I hope, and I love encouraging people as best I can. So, and then I'm also pursuing my doctorate in education. So I had to take a semester off in the last year or two, but I'll get there. So anyway, so that's just a little bit about me. So feel free if you want to leave a little bit about who you are and what you do, and you've listed your city. So love that. Feel free to do that. But when I started this channel, I started it honestly, it was because a couple of things. One was I was diagnosed with the scarring alopecia, and I had shared with the Lord, like, if you show me what to do, I'll share what I'm learning. That was it. That was kind of the area. If you show me what to do, if you choose to reverse this in this way, I'll share what I'm learning. And knowing that everybody has their own unique story, everybody's story is just unique to them, right? So it is. I'm going to remove that for now. Everybody's story is unique, and what might be a trigger for you might not be a trigger for the next person. So I'm not I don't ever want to come off, hopefully I don't, as though I'm being prescriptive, like you have to do this. What I've learned about this process is that it's individual and it's unique, and that God will give us as individuals wisdom for our journey, right? So, oh, thanks for sharing, Eleanor. And so, hey, Alicia. Hey, Alicia. Um, Alicia is my deep dive research partner in crime. So we're always looking at research, trying to figure out what's going on. Anyway, so I wanted to help others. I wanted to be encouraging. And honestly, I wanted it to be a place where I could go. I wanted it to be the place that I didn't have. Because when I got my diagnosis, y'all, I was curled up in a ball. I was a hot mess. I bought all the oils. I bought any type of equipment you could think of. I was trying to, buy it and think about it and purchase this and buy that. And so I went a little haywire. And also over time, I realized that it is about hair, but it's not just about hair. We'll talk about that later. So anyway, I wanted this to be the channel that I wish I had when I was recently diagnosed. And so I enjoy searching and researching and trying to figure out what might be going on with us and what might some solutions be. That's really what this is all about, right? And helping us to guide us in the direction to help each other out. So, and I'm going to go through some of this information. And what I thought would be helpful is for those of you, again, who are new, who haven't seen the pictures and the videos, I would take a few minutes to go through my journey and in pictures and sort of what that process was like. And then if you are on wherever you are at on the journey, if you could share where you are. I know Eleanor just noticed that she was just diagnosed. And so wherever you are and whatever you've learned, again, please feel free to pop that in the chat there. But I wanted to start out with, I'm going to go back to the slides this is kind of where it all started. And I don't know, I guess I might make it big so you can see. If you can see, let me know if it doesn't look clear or not. But this is where it all started. And Alicia knows this, but what happened was I had taken some braids out and I had kept them in too long, right? We were in the beginning of COVID. I had kept them in too long. I've taken some braids out, and my stylist noticed that it just started coming out. It started breaking. It started, she found a spot that ended up being a super large spot. And she recommended that I actually go to a dermatologist, which was the first person who actually recommended. But, hindsight is 2020. Years ago, I had a spot here for years and just never paid attention to it, right? But it was when being in COVID, I think the losing of the hair, it just all kind of like, you need to get some help. So I went to a dermatologist. But even before I went to the dermatologist, I had already started doing my own research around what could this possibly be. And everything was lending itself to inflammation, and then even to what, I think even what Eleanor was saying about autoimmune deficiency, there was a couple things that just kept standing out whenever I was doing research, trying to figure out. Now, this is before I went to the doctor. So anyway, I ended up getting, finding out that, okay, for me, I realized it was I believed it was inflammatory, which means what are the things I can do to reduce inflammation? So what I ended up doing was reducing, I'm going to go back to the the main thing. What I ended up doing was I started taking vitamin D because I saw that as a something that people who have hair loss usually may often be deficient in. So I started taking vitamin D. I was taking like 10,000, I think it's IUs daily. Then I started increasing anti-inflammatory foods. Again, this is all before going to the dermatologist. And then I ended up going to the first dermatologist. It was a hot mess. It was one of the worst medical experiences that I've had. And it was a Black woman. And then I went back to my stylist and she said, don't give up. Go to, oh, thank you, Alicia. My stylist said, don't give up. Find another one. So I found another one. And when I went to this doctor, I was actually much more, I think, empowered to sort of have a real conversation. And I didn't say the name of the physician because I'm in a small community, but I did say what my experience was. And I said that I wanted to I told her that I need you to listen. I need you to provide sort of clear direction on a path forward. And I had a list of questions. I had a ton of questions. And so that physician actually, she did a biopsy. I want to say she did it the same day in her office. And I do highly recommend, if you are able, that you get a biopsy, because once I got the results from the biopsy back, it kind of let me know that number one, that I had hair follicles still there, that they were still viable, and that the inflammation needed to come down. I knew it was some scalp inflammation. I knew it was also inflammation in my body, long story short, right? So I did that. So I started, and I worked with the doctor, and she gave me a topical medication. And so she gave me mometasone, for Fuorate. I took it periodically. I didn't take it consistently. But I did take supplements: turmeric with black pepper, spearmint, magnesium, pumpkin seed oil, all things that through the research show that it helps with reducing inflammation and also addressing some hormonal issues. So that was in October. And so what ended up happening was, I'm going to go back to here. So I left the doctor, and we had sort of a plan in place of reducing inflammation, and it got worse before it got better. And I say that because I've had people who emailed me, or we've been in conversations, and you're wanting to figure out, how long is it going to take? Is it going to work? And everybody's story is different, but it certainly got worse before it got better. Before it got better. And you can see there, you can see all of this was broken off. You can see the middle of my hair, and even in the front I had lost so much. And I joked about it, but it was like I was looking like George Jefferson when I had it combed out in a little afro. And so that was in February 2021. But then I just, through prayer and just direction, was like, I'm just going to stay focused. Anti-inflammatory foods, increasing my protein, vitamin D, the supplements. And over time, I ended up becoming in recovery, right? And so that was in October 2021. So that is essentially a 5-month time frame from here to here. I ended up cutting it again because it was really short. So I just cut it and all that. And so that happened for a while. Yeah, George Jefferson. That's exactly what I look like, Alicia. I had to try to find some fun somewhere, some humor somewhere. So went in, and what I call it, and I've heard him say that it's remission or recovery. So that happened in October 2021. And I thought, okay, we're doing great. Everything's going good. Then what ended up happening was I got COVID. And after getting COVID and some life stress issues, I started having loss again, breakage again. And you can see there, this is where it was. But my hypothesis is, because I was taking the supplements and the anti-inflammatory foods and occasionally using the medication, it didn't go back to where it was before. So I did have, you can see that I had some loss there. And then what ended up happening was I just stayed the course. I was like, and y'all know, because if you've been around for a while, you've seen my videos, you've seen some of them. I just kept doing a video. I was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to learn. I'm going to continue to figure it out. I don't know. Because I'm constantly was like, I don't know. I don't know. All of this is sort of an exercise in faith. And so that was in October of 2023 when I was in what I would call remission. And one thing I will say too is I would have little flare-ups. Like I would have a flare-up where my scalp would get tender, or I'd have little, like, I don't say they're acne, but I would get like a little bump on my scalp. Or have y'all had that? Have you because some people have it. I know Alicia and I were talking about this. Some people have it and they don't have any scalp issues at all. But some of us have it, and we have tenderness, and we have, more balding spots or pain. Like I've had at times where I had pain. So it just depends. I would say when I'm not in a flare up, the best way I can describe it is when I'm not in a flare up, it's almost like I can't feel my scalp at all. It does not in a negative way, but it's just there. But I can tell a flare up is coming because essentially I can just feel, even if it's not really super tender, it's like I'm more presently aware of my scalp. That may not make any sense, but like I have a little bit more itching than I normally do, a little bit more, what do you call it? A little bit more shedding than what normally is done. So that's it. And I have a video on here where it says, what does 150 to 250 shed hair looks like, particularly for those of us with short hair, because I had a hard time trying to figure out, am I in a shedding episode? Am I heading into out of remission? What is this? Is this a normal shed? So there's a video, like a short, I think I have that in there. Anyway, so October 2023, remission. And then earlier, sorry for the numbers there, but earlier this year I had another flare up, and I think it was stress related. Does anybody here have stress related hair issues? Because I think the combination of the CCCA and the stress for me, I know there's a correlation between stress and when I have a flare up. So anyway, so that was in May of 2024. And what I ended up doing was just cutting my hair super short. You can even see some of the videos. I have shrinkage, as the kids used to say back in the day, like a mug. So it could be this long and it still looks like this. So anyway, that was in May. And then in October, here's where we are. This is where we are last month. So I guess I would say that's where we are right now. I'm not shedding. I'm not having major issues. I will say this. One of the things that was important for me is if I don't wash my hair every 5 to 7 days, that's when I can tell the more tenderness, or I'll feel a tender spot coming up. So I have to be really diligent with washing my hair on a very consistent basis. I don't know whether it can't be built up because I don't put anything on my scalp. I'm not sure what the connection is there, but I do know that I have to kind of wash it pretty regularly in order to stay, in order to keep it from getting tender. So that's kind of like the journey. And I wanted to share, Sue, like this is kind of the process in pictures, because I don't know if you've seen. So I started out, this is the major issue. It got worse. It got better. It got worse. So then it got better. And then here's where we are now. And so this is kind of the journey over the last, actually 4 years, technically, you could say 3 full years. And I just wanted to give some context about the experience that I've had here. I've had a lot of people, again, share what their journey has been like, and it's been pretty similar in terms of the process. And so I see here quite a few people have said that they've had tenderness and bumps. And what do you all do for that? Like, do you do anything? Do you have any treatment that you do for those who have the tenderness and the bumps, or do you just ride it out? That's one of the questions that I probably would ask. And so while I'm going to go to share the next thing. So I've been asked a couple of times, what do you mean by holistic approach? And everyone has their own definition. So this is my idea of a holistic approach, right? So it includes prayer, it includes stress resilience, which is a new term that I found that I love. So it's not just stress management, but it's how how you manage and you prepare yourself essentially for being able to manage stress. Supplements, I'm a big fan of supplements. And then also in terms of exercise, I don't know about y'all, but when I exercise, my scalp feels so much better. My hair, just the quality, I don't say the quality, the texture of it, I feel like it just does a lot better when I exercise, when I get a good sweat in. And so that's also a reminder to me to keep that process going. And I know Karen from Curl House, we did a video on exercise and how helpful that is, because it also gets a lot of oxygen and nutrients to our hair follicles. So that's the other reason why, maybe that's the reason why it works so well. Sleep is a big one because sleep, our bodies heal when we sleep. And so, especially for those of us who are in perimenopause or menopause or having sleep issues, one of the things that's really helpful for us is to really think about how are we embracing and setting ourselves up for great sleep so our bodies can heal. Thank you, Medea, for sharing that. She uses peppermint oil for her red bumps. Do you use a carrier oil with that, or do you just use straight peppermint oil? Because I know sometimes they say you should use a carrier oil for that. The other part when I say holistic approach is seeing a physician. So those are some of the things when I say I think about a holistic approach. When I say holistic approach, that's kind of the angle of the approach that I'm looking at, actually. So some of the lessons that I've learned so far is confession, surrender, and radical awareness. And when I say that, it means like being incredibly honest with myself, with God, with my physician, and just being mindful of where we are. And so when I say radical awareness too, that's why I know many of us have our thoughts about the medical profession, particularly, working with physicians in the US. It has its it has its challenges, right? And at the same time, I think it's, as best we can, we want to find out kind of where we are. Because once we identify where we are is when we can make a path forward. And I would love to, I'm not going to be able to do it, I don't think so, but I would love to be able to have Alicia tell her story, because she is an amazing person in terms of pursuing her journey and looking for resources and information. So that's one. And then seeking, right? So just look out. I know it's hard, I know it's difficult, I know it's tough, but you are empowered to go out and find, I think, the answers that you need, right? Which is why maybe you're even watching this, is that there are resources out there. Ask, seek, and knock. They are out there for us. I believe in healing for us, period, point blank. I pray for everybody on this channel weekly. I believe that we can be healed. What it looks like, I can't determine. I don't know. I'm that's not my wheelhouse to say what healing might look like for this person or that person or for me. But I do believe it is available to us. And the other thing that I wanted to say, what I'm still learning, is about receiving God's grace. I would have never in a million years, y'all, put my bald head on this YouTube unless I thought and realized that perhaps it could encourage others, but also encourage me. And I think that's a part of this grace, right? So there's something in our journeys that it's not always the negative. It doesn't always have to be the hard thing. Like there's grace for us in this journey. And I want us to help be open to that, right? And then the other thing is gratitude. Actually, patience and gratitude. Patience, because it's such an up and down journey. Y'all know this. It's such an up and down journey. And it's not one that I would have picked, right? And because, again, I'm going to say this again. If someone actually sent some bad messages, some not that great messages. It's why are you so focused on hair? It's not just about hair. It's a part of it is about hair, but we were created, and God knows how much this means, not just the hair, but what's going on in our bodies. When we are not in full health, He wants us to be healthy. He cares about us. It's not trite for us to say, it doesn't matter. It does matter. And if it matters to you, it matters to Him, right? So being grateful and patient is a part of this process. And I'm also learning so much about the science of gratitude and how it even reduces inflammation. We'll talk about that in another video, maybe, if you're interested. But then also stewardship, y'all. I was not a great steward, and I'm still working on this, of my health. I think I was a single mom for 18 years. I worked all the, job and going to school full time, all these things. And I'm not giving you an excuse, just an explanation. But a lot of times I spent my first 40 plus years being very reactive. And when I started to become in my 50s, early 50s, actually leading in the 50s, I was like, I don't want to be reactive. I want to be proactive, and to be a good steward. And little did I know that this was going, this hair journey actually is was the catalyst to help me really to focus on that. Because again, a lot of what's happening us, you saw someone talked about their autoimmune issue. There's a lot of things happening. And again, I'm going to keep calling out Alicia, but we're seeing so many things that even there's a genes that are associated with CCCA. There are things that we could be eating or doing or experiencing that turn on or turn off these genes. And so the idea of, are we embracing our life and doing the things that we can do, to live full, healthy, healed lives? I remember there's a scripture when Jesus says, become what you believe, right? And so I want to be healed. I want us to be healed. And so for us to do that, what's our part in that process, right? So anyway, so that's that part. And then I think the last part, that I wanted to talk about is kind of what's next with the channel. We're on like 30 minutes. So I wanted to know, because if I'm going to, I want to do the videos and I want them to be helpful. And I would love for somehow for us to build more of a community, right? And so one of my ideas, was around doing monthly challenges, like with a hydration challenge or a sleep challenge or even a creativity challenge. So I would create a little PDF and something that we could work on throughout the month or for 7 days or 10 days, just things to help us continue to live whole. So I'm interested in that. Let me know if you're interested in something like that. If so, put a thumbs up or a comment there if you're interested in any type of monthly challenges. I'm also interested in continuing to interview people. Like I want to continue to bring us some of the best professionals that we can get on our channel, to help inform us about what's happening, whether it's about food or medicine or mental wellness. I would love to bring more people in, to share their expertise with us. I would also love, and I know this is going to be a big ask, but I would love to interview women who are dealing with hair loss, and and it doesn't have to be like you have it all figured out, because this channel gets about 20,000 to 40,000 views. Thank you, Poison Ivy, Eleanor, and Teresa. Got it. As long as I have a couple people, we're going to do it. I don't need thousands. If it's just 5 of us, we're going to do it. But those challenges. But there's a lot of us around the world who are dealing with this, and we are not alone. And I know sometimes it probably feels like, I don't know about you, but it feels like why are we, number one, I'm alone, but number two, why is this happening in mass? Is another thing. And so the more we connect and more we are in community, the more we can begin to try to determine and assess, because we all know reality wise, and Alicia, again, we've talked about this, that the medical establishment may or may not fully rise to the occasion around this, unless they're sometimes trying to put a pharmaceutical on it. And so there are things that we're not limited to that. I think medicine is helpful. We're actually going to have a physician coming up soon. But there are also things that we can do. So that, anyway, that's that. So I do want to keep doing the cooking and the recipes, just because it's fun and it's one of the things that I'm passionate about. So hopefully y'all enjoy those and watch those. And then, look, we could do a cook along, go on a Zoom, get off of, the public, go on a Zoom and cook and chat and connect that way. I'm interested in doing that. And then also thinking about, do we want to do monthly lives and then maybe around a specific topic? So like, for example, maybe next month we do a live chat around supplements, or maybe we do a live chat around medical treatments. Like what, hey, Karen, or, things like that. So I'm really interested in hearing what would be interesting to you. What would cause you to say, hey, let me make sure I log on and watch this video? Because really this content is for you. It is for you. It's for everyone, every woman who's dealing with hair loss, who needs sort of what I like to say, a safe space, a safe place to land, and learn and connect. So I'm actually, any other thoughts? Oh, Candice, would you like to be interviewed? Anyway, if you are interested in being interviewed, if you could leave, I have my email address in the YouTube sort of description box. I'll leave that there. So please email me if you would like to be interviewed. I would love to share your story, or have you share your story, what you're learning and what you're doing. I will have an interview coming up with someone who has struggled with alopecia and has moved to the full scarring stage. And hear me out, she's still pursuing a beautiful, expansive, giving life. And so I think that's another part that I'm very interested in too. We want to, I'm really interested in us fulfilling our purpose, not hindering who we're called to be and what our gift is to the world because we're struggling in this area. That's a whole nother thing that's a passion for me. So anyway, so I will, you have any other questions that you want to leave in the comment section? Any other comments you'd like to leave? Because I just wanted to do a quick check-in and share this information. But anything else that anyone, if you feel free to leave a comment. And the last thing I did want to leave you with is something that is near and dear to my heart is, he prepares a table before me in the presence of my enemies. And many of us have a lot of enemies, right? So it might be oppression, it might be sickness, it might be financial situations, all these things around us. But I believe in a word of encouragement for us is that he prepares that table before us, regardless of who those enemies are. All we need to do is sit down at the table. So, and rest, right? So I would encourage you to keep going, keep seeking treatment, keep pursuing the things that you're called to do, the things that you believe you're called to do. This does not end your story, or it doesn't hinder your story. In fact, it might be a big part of your story. So dealing with this scenario. So I would just encourage you to keep moving on. Any questions, email me. I'd love to connect with you via email. Or even in the chat box. And so have a wonderful afternoon. Thank you for joining me on this live. I'm so excited to see you all in the chat box. So anyway, have a blessed afternoon. Live well, live blessed, nourish your crown, and I'll see you in the next video.